My beloved child, before you let today pass like so many others, I want you to stop and look honestly at something you have grown used to. Avoiding it is not that you lack time, but that your heart has learned to protect itself through busyness. You have used your pace of life, responsibilities, messages, work, conversations, and even unfinished dreams as a thin curtain, thin enough that light still comes through, yet thick enough to keep you from facing the emptiness within. You think you are living strongly, but I know that at times your strength has only been the habit of bracing yourself so you do not collapse. You think you are moving forward, but I see stretches of the road where you are only running in circles to avoid a door I have been knocking on for a very long time. I do not call to you with a thunderous voice that throws you into panic. I call you with truth that awakens you, because I love you with a love that does not indulge illusion. I want you to understand that my presence is not a fleeting emotional moment, nor a feeling that flares up and fades away. My presence is the foundation, the breath of your soul, the axis that keeps your life from drifting off course. When that axis loosens, you will find yourself easily pulled by everything else, by what people say, by how they look at you, by how success is measured, and even by nameless fears you cannot quite identify. You often believe that if you can keep the outside looking fine, then the inside must be fine as well. But my child, there are rooms within you that have never been opened, places where you store what you do not want to remember, questions you are afraid to ask, wounds you say are in the past but have really only been pushed deeper. I do not come to expose you before others. I come so that you no longer have to hide from yourself. What you hide will quietly control you, but what you bring into the light will be healed. I know you are tired of maintaining appearances, tired of explaining yourself, tired of proving that you deserve to be loved, to be chosen, to be allowed to stay. I tell you this: you are not accepted because you are perfect. You are accepted because I am your Father. You may learn many ways to succeed, but if you do not learn how to return, success will become nothing more than a beautiful house that is empty inside. You may learn many ways to earn respect, but if you do not learn how to let your heart soften before me, that respect will turn into armor that leaves you even more alone. So here, right now, I invite you to practice something very small and very deep. Stop running. Do not run in your thoughts. Do not run in your emotions. Do not run in your activity. Stay in the silence long enough to hear the true rhythm of your heart, not the rhythm you perform, but the rhythm you live by when no one is watching. In that rhythm, you will recognize a thirst you have tried to quench with many things: recognition, distraction, new goals, new relationships, new plans. But that thirst is not your failure. It is the mark that you were made for me. You can fill your schedule, but you cannot fill your soul with what does not belong to the soul. You can stay busy in order to forget, but you cannot heal by ignoring what hurts. I do not accuse you for searching in the wrong places. I simply call you back to the right place. There are moments when you wonder why you still feel lost after trying so hard, why joy feels as thin as mist, why the fear of being abandoned lingers even after you have told yourself to be strong. I tell you this: it is not because you lack worth, but because you are carrying wounds from earlier seasons that you have not yet allowed me to touch. You have grown used to bandaging yourself, enduring on your own, pushing through alone. But my child, pushing through is not always victory. Sometimes it is only a way of surviving without truly living. My child, I did not create you to exist in a state of endurance. I created you to live in the freedom of one who knows to whom they belong. You belong to me before you belong to any role. You are my child before you are anyone's capable one. You are loved before you ever do something that makes others applaud. When this is set in its rightful place, you will no longer fear change, because your identity is no longer suspended from the fragile stability of circumstances. You will no longer be bent out of shape by criticism, because your worth no longer depends on the noise outside. You will no longer have to pretend that you are fine all the time, because you know you have a true refuge. And that refuge is not an escape. That refuge is me, the one who sees you through and still does not leave you. I know there are days when you pray and see nothing change, and you think I am silent. But often I do not change the circumstances right away, because I am changing the way you stand within them. I am teaching you to discern between hurried voices and guiding voices, between the impulse of fear and the prompting of faith, between the desire to prove yourself and the call to maturity. True love does not promise a road without wind. True love promises a hand that does not let go. There are winds I allow so that you may learn to stand firm. Learn to release what you cannot control. Learn to trust that even when you do not cling tightly, I am still holding you. You have lived a long time condemning yourself whenever you felt weak, blaming yourself whenever you were wrong, comparing yourself whenever you were slow. I teach you something different. Responsibility is light that helps correct the path, but shame is darkness that drives you to hide. I am calling you into the light that does not only expose, light that also warms. I am not concerned only with what you do. I am concerned with who you are becoming. I do not only want you to do right, I want you to be healed. I do not only want you to achieve, I want you to abide. I do not only want you to stand firm before people, I want you to stand firm in me. So begin with something very small. Speak to me with truth. You may say, Lord, I am tired. Lord, I am afraid. Lord, I have been running for too long. I will not despise you for these words. I hold you in those very words, because I would rather you be real than merely be right. When you choose to stay, your heart softens a little more. When you choose to listen, chaos steps back. When you choose to trust, darkness loses a piece of ground. And I will lead you step by step, not to make you into the version others demand, but to make you into the person I saw long before you ever saw yourself. My child, I want you to recognize something subtle yet very real. Your heart does not harden in a single night. It becomes hardened little by little through repeated small choices, through moments when you protect yourself with silence instead of facing the truth. When you choose familiarity over honesty. When you hear the invitation to return but say, later. No one wakes up one morning and decides to close their heart. They simply get used to closing one small crack at a time, until no light gets in, while still believing they are fine. I do not say this to frighten you, but to awaken you, for when you no longer feel, you may mistake numbness for peace. When you no longer stir, you may mistake emptiness for freedom. When you can no longer cry, you may mistake dryness for maturity. But, my child, true maturity does not harden you. True maturity makes you steadier, yet still tender. More upright, yet still able to bow. Clearer, yet still compassionate. There were times you promised yourself that you would no longer hope, so you would not be disappointed. No longer expect, so you would not hurt. No longer open your heart, so you would not be wounded. Those promises may sound wise, but they quietly take something precious from you, the capacity to trust. You did not realize that every time you locked your heart to avoid pain, you also locked it against joy. Every time you built walls to block hurt, you also built walls against healing. I see that you have learned to live so safely that you no longer live deeply. I see you choosing control to avoid surprise, certainty to avoid trembling, reason to avoid facing emotion. But, my child, life is not healed by removing risk. It is healed by placing trust in the right place. I do not call you to be reckless. I call you to be one who knows they are held. When you know you are held, you do not need to cling. When you know you are loved, you do not need to wear armor. I know you have grown accustomed to blaming yourself whenever things do not go as planned, to asking why me, to carrying the weight of things you did not cause. You have lived as though you must take responsibility for the emotions of others, bear consequences that are not yours, remain silent to preserve harmony. Gradually, you learn to shrink, speaking less, feeling less, hoping less. I see this, and I tell you, silence is not always humility. Sometimes silence is fear of rejection. Endurance is not always love. Sometimes endurance is the way you erase yourself. I did not create you to disappear so others could be at ease. I created you to be present in a healthy way, with clear boundaries and a true heart. Boundaries do not make you selfish. Boundaries keep love from becoming distorted. Without boundaries, you give in bitterness. With boundaries, you give in freedom. Perhaps you once believed that if you were good enough, gentle enough, tried hard enough, people would stay. Things would work out, and you would finally have peace. But, my child, people are not kept by exhausting self-sacrifice. People are kept by truth. Truth may shake things at times, but falsehood always rots them from within. I am not telling you to speak everything at all times. I am teaching you to know when to be truthful with yourself and with me. For when you are truthful before me, you no longer have to live two lives, one outward for others to see, and one inward for you alone to endure. I am calling you out of that fragmentation. I am calling you to become one heart, one direction, one identity. Pay attention to the small signs you often overlook: fatigue that does not lift even after rest, irritability that comes faster than you expect, indifference toward things that once moved you, suspicion whenever something good draws near. These are not your nature. They are reminders that you have wandered too far from the source. A branch does not wither because it is bad. It withers because it has been cut off from the trunk. I do not condemn you for disconnecting. I simply invite you to reconnect. This reconnection is not loud or dramatic. It happens in small decisions, pausing when you want to escape, staying when you want to run, breathing deeply when you want to react, asking for help when you want to control. Each such decision is a sinew, reattaching your heart to life. I know you fear that if you reopen what has been closed, old pain will rush back in. But, my child, what is not healed does not disappear. It simply waits for another moment to speak. When you open yourself to me, I do not make you face it alone. I step in with you. I move slowly, at a pace you can bear. I stop when you need rest. I do not push you to tell everything at once. I do not require you to remember every detail. I only ask that you stay and allow me to touch. Allow me to name. Allow me to cleanse. Some things lose their power simply by being named rightly. Some fears grow small the moment they are brought into the light. Learn to discern between repentance and self-punishment. Repentance brings you home. Self-punishment drives you farther away. Repentance says, "This needs to be corrected." Self-punishment says, "I am what needs to be erased." I do not speak to you in the voice of contempt. I speak in the voice of a father. When you stumble, I do not shut the door, I open a way. When you wander, I do not wait for you to find your way back, I go looking for you. When you are weary, I do not urge you to run, I give you rest. Resting in me is not giving up, it is restoring order. And that order begins when you stop striving to become someone else and allow yourself to be my child. Do not measure your progress by emotional peaks. Peaks come and go. I measure by endurance. Do you return when you wander? Do you tell the truth when shame rises? Do you stay when prayer feels dry? Do you place me at the center when everything else invites you to the margins? These things do not make headlines, but they build a life that does not collapse easily. I do not need you to do great things to prove yourself. I need you to be faithful in small things to be transformed. Each day you choose truth over convenience. You soften your heart. Each time you choose listening over reacting, you open another door. Each time you choose trust over withdrawal, you step out of the shadow of the past. If you find that you have grown accustomed to living on autopilot, I invite you to practice attention again, not attention to everything, but attention to what is right. Begin the day with a simple anchor, a few minutes of stillness, a short prayer, a deep breath. Do not underestimate these moments. A compass that is off by only a little can lead you far astray, but a daily recalibration keeps you on course. When the direction is right, speed will come at the right time. I am not in a hurry. I am precise. I do not pull you with pressure. I lead you with light. I am softening your heart not with a sledgehammer, but with water. Water works slowly, yet it reshapes stone. This softening does not make you weak. It makes you real. And truth is the foundation of freedom. When you are soft, you can feel. When you can feel, you can discern. When you can discern, you walk steadily. You will no longer need to ask so often, "Are you here?" because you will recognize my traces in ordinary things, in a timely, small decision, in a gentle refusal, in an evening of unhurried rest, in gratitude that needs no display. When you recognize me in the ordinary, your life becomes holy ground. My child, I want you to pause once more, not to think harder, but to remain more deeply. Some things do not open through analysis, but through presence. You have learned to understand with the mind, measure by results, verify by signs, yet the inner life does not follow those metrics. It grows in silence, is nourished by faithfulness, and becomes resilient when you learn to stay even when there is nothing to hold on to. I am not leading you in circles to exhaust you. I am leading you slowly so you can realize you are being held. When you learn to remain, you stop needing to prove your worth. You stop searching for hurried exits. You allow life to do its work unforced, unwarped. I know you once feared silence, because old questions rise in silence. You feared being alone with memories left unnamed. You feared stopping because you might see your own fragility. But, my child, silence does not come to condemn you. It comes to offer a safe space where I can speak without being drowned out by noise. In silence, I do not demand answers to every question. I simply invite you to breathe with me. One honest breath can calm a storm. One true moment can restore order to a long day. Do not despise small things, for it is in the small that I lay foundations for the great. There are times you think that if you understood enough, you would change. But, my child, lasting change does not come from understanding more. It comes from loving rightly. When you love rightly, love truth, love light, love what gives life, you will naturally release what drains you. I do not rush you to abandon everything at once. I teach you to recognize the fruit of each choice. What draws you nearer to me? More peaceful, more true, keep it. What pulls you farther from me? Tighter, more distorted, lay it down. Fruit does not lie. A good tree bears good fruit, and a heart that is rightly nourished will instinctively turn toward the source. I also want you to discern between remaining and being stuck. Remaining is choosing presence with purpose. Being stuck is enduring without a way forward. I do not call you to endure. I call you to remain with hope. Remaining does not deny pain. It places pain in my hands. Remaining does not avoid reality. It faces reality with a greater trust. When you remain with me, you are not frozen in the past. You are anchored in the present to step into the future. You do not need to revisit every memory. I simply invite you to put memories in their proper place, not in the driver's seat, but in my hands. There is a subtle temptation you must recognize, the temptation to turn spiritual life into a sequence of experiences rather than a relationship. Experiences come and go. Relationships remain and mature. Experiences excite you. Relationships steadies you. Experiences make you seek more signs. Relationships help you recognize my traces. I do not oppose joy. I place joy within endurance. So do not measure me by today's emotions. Measure by the direction of your life. When the direction is right, emotions will find their place. I know you have learned to manage, to organize, to carry things on your own, and I honor the resilience you have forged. But, my child, resilience is not the destination. It is the means by which you learn to rely. I do not want you to live your whole life in self-reliance mode and end up depleted. I want you to learn the rhythm of partnership where you do your part, and allow me to do mine. Your part is honesty, obedience to the light you already have. The small step today, my part is to make a way, to heal, to arrange what you cannot see. When you exchange burden for trust, you will feel lighter, not because there is less to do, but because the weight is placed where it belongs. You may still ask, how long until I feel different, my child? That question is not wrong, but I invite you to ask a deeper one. Am I remaining today? For the journey is built of faithful todays. Today, you choose the truth. Today, you pause before reacting. Today, you rest when you are tired. Today, you ask when you are confused. Today, you place me at the center. These todays become a path you will look back on in wonder. I have led you farther than you thought, deeper than you planned, and safer than you imagined. Healing does not erase memory. It transforms the meaning of memory. What once caused you to fall will become the ground of compassion. What once made you afraid will become wisdom. What once filled you with shame will become humility. I waste nothing. As a potter does not discard the clay when it collapses, I reshape it, and the later form is often more beautiful than the first, because it carries the suppleness it has learned. Do not fear the cracks. Light enters through them. I am not asking you to change everything. I am simply inviting you to keep one thing, the rhythm of remaining. Keep that rhythm on ordinary days, when there are no special signs. Keep that rhythm in seasons of ease, when it is easy to forget me because everything seems fine. Keep that rhythm in seasons of difficulty, when it is easy to doubt me because everything feels slow. The rhythm of remaining will keep you from extremes, from chasing success until you lose yourself, and from withdrawing in fear. The rhythm of remaining will teach you to walk steadily, breathe steadily, love steadily. I will not abandon what I have begun. When you were still afraid you might stumble, I had already prepared a hand to steady you. When you wondered whether you were enough, I had already arranged sufficiency. When you feared you could not hold on, I had already decided to hold you. You do not need to know the entire path, you only need to know the one who leads. You do not need to see far ahead, you only need to be faithful to the step before you. Light sufficient, for the next step will come at the right time. My beloved child, I am not bringing you into unfamiliar territory. I am leading you deeper into what you have already touched but have not yet fully understood. For after you learn to remain, you will face a more subtle challenge, living amid movement without losing your axis. The world around you keeps spinning, demanding, pulling, tugging, inviting, comparing, applying pressure. If you do not have a steady axis within, you will be carried along without realizing it. I do not blame you for having been carried along before. I simply want you to learn how to stand. Standing does not mean becoming rigid, nor does it mean retreating. It means knowing where you are, to whom you belong, and which direction you are walking. Even when the wind shifts, you have grown accustomed to measuring value by speed, faster, more, higher. You have also learned to measure rightness by visible results. But, my child, there are things that are right without being loud, and things that are good before they bear fruit. If you believe only what you can see, you will grow discouraged while the seed is still underground. I am teaching you a different way of seeing through faithfulness. Faithfulness does not make you stand out immediately. It makes you durable over time. In a world that celebrates moments, I build lives. In an age that chases appearances, I tend to root. You do not need to prove progress every day. You need to be in the right place each day. When you are in the right place, growth will come in the rhythm of life, not in the rhythm of pressure. Learn to recognize the invisible forces pulling on you. There is the pull of approval when you feel at peace only when you are seen. There is the pull of comparison when you feel lacking simply because others have more. There is the pull of control when fear of the unknown makes you want to grasp everything. These pulls are not always evil. They become dangerous when they replace your axis. When approval replaces identity, you will grow weary. When comparison replaces gratitude, you will grow bitter. When control replaces trust, you will grow tense. I do not forbid desire. I invite you to place desire in its proper place. Desire rightly placed leads to cooperation. Desire wrongly placed drags you into struggle. I know you live within many roles at once. You work. You care for others. You build a future. You maintain relationships. Each role requires energy, and if you do not discern wisely, you will give in places that do not replenish you. I am not calling you to abandon roles. I am teaching you to order them. Ordering begins with a simple question: what belongs to this season, and what has not yet come? Not every invitation is a calling. Not every opportunity is meant to be seized. When you learn to say, "not yet at the right time," you are protecting a deeper yes. Wisdom does not make you love less. It gives love boundaries so it will not run dry. My child, I want you to learn a rhythm different from the urgency around you. This rhythm is neither lazy nor delaying. It is ordered. Order begins when you place what gives life before what consumes it. Order continues when you give time to what is quiet yet enduring, such as silence, prayer, rest, learning before expending yourself on what is visible. Order is completed when you know how to stop before you are depleted, not after you have broken. I do not give you strength for you to waste. I give it for you to steward. Good stewardship does not make you dry. It keeps you fresh. You may once have thought that if you were strong enough, you would not need to rely on anyone. But, my child, reliance is not for the weak. Reliance is the choice of the wise. When you rely, you allow life to flow through you instead of being clogged by fear. When you rely, you no longer have to strain to prove yourself. You will find yourself working with more joy, loving with greater freedom, and deciding with deeper peace. Peace does not come when everything is fine. Peace comes when the axis is right. And a right axis does not come from controlling the world, but from trusting that I am holding you. I also want you to notice how you react when things do not go your way. Quick reactions often spring from fear of loss. Slower responses give truth room to speak. I am not telling you to be sluggish. I am inviting you to slow down enough to discern. Before words that wound you, pause. Before decisions that excite you, pause. Before choices that promise quick gain, pause. In that pause, ask, does this draw me nearer to me or farther away? Does it make me freer or more bound? Does it nourish life or drain it? These questions will keep you aligned when emotions want to take the wheel. You do not need to have an opinion about everything, nor do you need to respond to every word. Selective silence is strength. When you learn to be silent at the right time, you preserve energy for what matters. When you learn to speak at the right time, your words carry weight. I am not calling you to become invisible. I am calling you to become clear, clear in values, clear in boundaries, clear in direction. This clarity will unsettle some, but it will bring peace to you. Peace is not always understood, but you do not live to be understood by all. You live to be faithful to what has been entrusted to you. I know there are times you fear that if you do not keep up, you will be left behind. But, my child, not everyone who moves fast arrives, and not everyone who arrives remains themselves. I care that you arrive and remain whole. Wholeness means body, mind, and spirit are not torn apart by pressure. Wholeness means doing much without losing your axis, loving much without losing yourself, giving much without being emptied. This does not happen by accident. It is built through small daily decisions, resetting order, keeping rhythms of rest, protecting quiet time, and returning when you wander. If you find that you have been running too fast, do not be ashamed to slow down. Slowing down is not losing. Slowing down is correcting direction. I do not grade you by speed. I look at faithfulness. And faithfulness always carries its reward, not always visible at once, but always arriving at the right time. When you live with an aligned axis, you will see that what you could not arrange will be arranged. Doors you did not force will open. Unhealthy relationships will fall away on their own, and the right connections will come gently. I do not promise that every day will be easy. I promise you will not be alone. When you are unsure, I will remind you to pause. When you are afraid, I will hold you. When you are weary, I will give you rest. And when you are ready, I will lead you forward so you can step into the changes ahead with a steady heart, a healthy rhythm of life, and a direction that is not thrown off by noise. My beloved child, I want you to look honestly at your relationships, not because I want you to become closed off, but because I want you to learn how to love without losing yourself. You once thought that love meant leaving every door wide open, giving without reserve, staying no matter what happened. But, my child, love without boundaries becomes a burden, and a burden carried too long will weary the heart until it slowly hardens. I am not teaching you to love less. I am teaching you to love more rightly, so that love will not be twisted by fear or manipulation. You need to know this. Not everyone who enters your life is called to stay. Some come to plant seeds, some come to water, some come to harvest, and some pass through, so you can learn discernment. When you try to keep everyone, you lose the ability to recognize what nourishes you and what drains you. I do not condemn you for having clung before. I am simply inviting you to learn how to release at the right time. Releasing is not denying someone's value. Releasing is honoring the order of seasons. What belongs to a previous season, let it remain in that season. Carrying it forward will make it hard for you to walk into the new one. My child, some relationships are built on empathy, and some are built on dependency. Empathy makes both people grow. Dependency makes both people shrink. Pay attention to how you feel after each encounter. Are you lifted up or pulled down, freer or more tense, encouraged to live honestly or pressured to perform a role? These signs are not given so you can judge others. They are given so you can understand where boundaries are needed. Boundaries are not cold walls. They are healthy fences that keep the garden from being trampled. I know you once feared that if you set boundaries, you would be misunderstood, abandoned, called selfish. But, my child, temporary misunderstanding is better than accumulated resentment. Those who love you for who you are will learn to respect your boundaries. Those who love only what they gain from you will be upset when you say, "Enough." I am not calling you to live to please everyone. I am calling you to be faithful to what I am doing within you. When you say no at the right time, you are saying yes to life. You must also discern between responsibility and rescue. Responsibility is the portion given to you to do what is right within your reach. Rescue is the work I did not assign to you. When you try to save others by sacrificing your identity, you step into a role that is not yours. I do not need you to be a savior. I need you to be faithful. Faithfulness does not solve every problem for others. Faithfulness is present, speaks truth in love, and knows when to hand back what is beyond you to me. You do not fail when you cannot rescue. You mature when you learn to entrust. Pay attention to how you say yes. Some yeses are born of freedom. Some are born of fear of abandonment. Some yeses come from willing joy. Some come from unspoken pressure. I invite you to learn to say yes from inner peace. When you are at peace, your words carry weight. When you are anxious, your words are easily pulled off course. Before you agree, pause long enough to ask, does this invitation fit this season of my life? Does it honor the healthy rhythm I am building? Does it draw me closer to you? Pausing will not make you miss what belongs to you. Pausing will keep you from carrying what does not. I also want you to learn to listen without absorbing. Listening is presence. Absorbing is taking into yourself what is not yours to carry. You can hear someone's pain without turning it into your burden. You can be compassionate without becoming complicit. You can love without allowing violation. When you learn this distinction, you will stop being exhausted by other people's emotions. I did not create you to become a container for every kind of chaos. I created you to be a channel of life. A channel must remain clear if debris piles up. The flow will clog. My child, there are relationships I will refine not to make you lonely, but to make you free. This refining may hurt, because you have attached, invested, hoped. But seed cannot bloom if the soil is never turned. I do not break to destroy. I turn the ground to sow. When a relationship ends, do not rush to condemn yourself or the other person. Ask instead, what am I teaching you about boundaries, about value, about rhythm? The right question can turn loss into wisdom. You also need to know that boundaries begin on the inside. If you do not honor your own time for rest, others will not honor it. If you do not protect your silence, noise will take its place. If you do not keep your word to yourself, you will struggle to keep your word to others. I invite you to practice small boundaries every day, real rest hours, real quiet space, fewer promises kept faithfully. These small things build inner integrity. That integrity allows your boundaries to be respected without endless debate. Do not confuse love with endurance. Endurance over time can numb conscience. True love is always joined to truth. Sometimes love needs gentleness. Sometimes love needs clarity. Clarity does not cancel gentleness. It protects gentleness from being exploited. When you speak truth with a peaceful tone, you give others the chance to mature. You are not responsible for their reactions. You are responsible for your honesty. I know you want relationships to be smooth. I want that for you too. But, my child, smoothness does not come from avoiding conflict at all costs. It comes from handling conflict rightly. Unresolved conflict becomes a wall. Conflict resolved in love becomes a bridge. I will give you wisdom to know when to speak and when to be silent, when to step forward and when to step back. That wisdom comes as you remain with me long enough to hear the inner rhythm. My beloved child, I want you to see your life as a long road, not a series of disconnected moments. Many times you make the right decision in a day, yet let your direction drift for months. I am not only concerned with what you choose today, I am concerned with who you are becoming through repeated choices. Discernment is not a skill you use only in emergencies and then put away. It is a way of life trained each day. As you learn discernment, you stop being driven by immediate pressure. Stop chasing voices that are enticing but shallow. You begin to walk with a steady pace, where each small decision serves a larger direction. Learn to look far without losing the near step. Look far so you know where you are going. Take the near step so you know what to do today. Some look so far ahead that they neglect the present, living in dreams while ignoring discipline. Others stare at the present so tightly that they lose direction, doing much without knowing why. I am teaching you to hold both vision and faithfulness. Vision keeps you from scattering. Faithfulness keeps you from illusion. When vision is anchored in me and faithfulness is practiced daily, you will see the road open in segments, not rushed, but sure. Some decisions are neither bad nor good. They are simply out of season. Seasons have their own language. A season to sow, a season to wait, a season to reap, a season to rest. When you force a decision beyond its season, you will pay the price in fatigue and anxiety. I do not punish you for choosing early. I warn you because I love you. Ask me about the season. Listen to the gentle signals. Is your energy rising or draining? Is your peace expanding or shrinking? Is your rhythm being nourished or worn down? These signals are not random. They are the whisper of order. I want you to discern between opportunity and direction. Opportunities may be many. Direction is one. If you grasp every opportunity, you will drop your direction. If you hold your direction, the right opportunities will come in their time. Do not fear missing out. The greater danger is losing your way. You do not need to run faster than others. You need to walk the right road for you. Your road has its own pace, its own lessons, its own fruit. Comparison will make you doubt that pace. Discernment will help you honor it. I am also teaching you an important discipline: make decisions in the light, not in the storm. When emotions surge, whether in extreme excitement or deep despair, delay major decisions. Storms distort the compass. Light comes when you pause, breathe deeply, and place me at the center. I am not in a hurry, I am precise. Decisions born in the light often feel peaceful, even when they are hard. Decisions born in the storm often feel loud, even when they are easy. Choose peace. You will come to crossroads where there is no perfect answer. In those moments, choose what gives life rather than what drains it. Choose what draws you nearer to me rather than what makes you more noticeable. Choose what increases truth within you rather than what polishes an image. These choices will not always be applauded, but they will keep you whole. Wholeness matters more than impressing others. I do not build your life through leaps. I build it through steady steps. I want you to remember that discernment does not eliminate risk. It orders risk. No road is without wind, but there is a road with a pillar. Your pillar is me. When you walk while trembling, walk closer to me. When you walk without certainty, slow down rather than change direction. Many change direction because they are tired. The wise rest and then continue. Rest is not quitting. Rest is refueling for faithfulness. Practice looking back in order to learn, not to condemn yourself. Look at past decisions and ask what led you into peace. What pulled you away? What did you overlook? What did you hold too tightly? Learning turns the past into treasure. Self-condemnation turns the past into chains. I want you free. I am not calling you to perfection. I am calling you to a process. A process is nourished by humility and hope. There will be times you need to say enough to familiar paths in order to say yes to what is new. Do not fear closing doors that need to close. A closed door is not always lost. Sometimes it is protection. When you protect your access, you protect your future. I will not open doors you are not yet strong enough to sustain. I will prepare you before I bring you in. Preparation often happens quietly through small disciplines, through faithfulness no one sees, through choosing what is right when no one knows. My child, as you walk with me for the long road, you will realize something beautiful. Your decisions become simpler, not because life becomes less complex, but because your axis becomes clear. When the axis is clear, many options remove themselves. When the axis is clear, you do not need to argue with yourself as much. When the axis is clear, peace becomes the gatekeeper. If peace leaves, you know to stop. If peace remains, you know you can step even if your heart still trembles. My beloved child, I am not bringing you here to avoid trials, but to learn how to stand when trials come. Trials are not proof that I have abandoned you. Often they are evidence that you are being led into a deeper place. You once thought that if I were pleased with you, every path would be smooth. But, my child, love does not promise flat terrain. Love promises a firm foundation. That foundation does not stop the waves. It keeps you from being swept away. And as you stand upon it, you will discover that what seemed designed to knock you down becomes the place where you learn to stand upright. I know you fear trials because they touch the weaknesses you have tried to hide. They expose limits you thought you had outgrown. They stir memories you thought were asleep. But, my child, trials do not create who you are. They reveal who you are becoming. What is exposed is not exposed to shame you. It is exposed to be healed. What trembles is not meant to be rejected. It trembles so it can be strengthened. I am not calling you to overcome trials by appearing stronger. I am calling you to overcome by standing more rightly, standing in truth, standing in presence, standing in the rhythm that has already been laid as a foundation. There are winds that come suddenly, leaving you no time to prepare. In those moments, your natural reflex is to run or to grip tighter. I am teaching you a different reflex anchor. An anchor does not fight the wind, it holds position. When you anchor in me, you do not need to know how long the wind will last. You only need to know you are being held. Your anchor is not a stable emotion. Emotions change. Your anchor is the truth I have spoken, and you have chosen to trust. When you repeat that truth in the storm, you are guarding your axis, and the axis you guard will guard you. Discern between trial and temptation. Trial comes to refine, temptation comes to bend. Trial asks, "What will you lean on?" Temptation whispers, "You can handle this by yourself." Trial draws you nearer to me. Temptation offers shortcuts away from me. When you are tired, shortcuts sound reasonable, but shortcuts often steal what is most precious: wholeness. I do not forbid you to seek solutions. I invite you to choose solutions that do not betray your axis. It may slow you down, but it will keep you. I know there are times you pray for the trial to pass quickly. I hear you. But, my child, there are times I do not move the mountain immediately, because I am teaching you how to stand on the mountainside. Standing on a slope is not comfortable, but it trains balance. When you learn balance, you no longer fear heights. And when you no longer fear the height, you can see farther. There are things you will see after the trial that you could not see before it. I am not delaying the good. I am preparing you to hold the good. Trials will also test your language. On calm days, you speak easily. On windy days, your words reveal your source. Let your words become an anchor line. Speak truth even when your heart trembles. Speak thanksgiving even when circumstances have not changed. Speak a prayer instead of a sentence of self-condemnation. Language shapes experience. When you name fear rightly, fear loses authority. When you name hope rightly, hope gains ground. I do not need you to speak much. I need you to speak the truth. I also want you to learn to rest in the middle of trials. Rest is not quitting. Rest is restoring order. When you are exhausted, your decisions are easily distorted. Allow yourself to pause, sleep enough, eat enough, be quiet enough. These are not small things. They give your soul ground to stand on. I do not honor burnout. I honor faithfulness that knows how to rest. The one who knows how to rest will know how to go far. Do not let trials shrink your world until you can see only the problem. Expand your frame with memory of the times I have held you. Remember not to live in the past, but to nourish present faith. Sanctified memory becomes evidence. When you repeat that evidence, you are telling your soul, I have done it. I am doing it, and I will do it. Faith is fed by remembering rightly. Some trials last longer than you expect. In those seasons, the greatest temptation is to doubt me and to doubt yourself. My child, do not measure my presence by the speed of change. Measure it by my keeping. If you are still standing, I am still working. If you are still returning, I am still leading. If you are still speaking the truth, light is still shining. These signs are humble, but they are sure. I want you to pass through trials with one thing: refined trust. Trust is not the absence of questions. Trust is carrying questions to the right place. When you bring questions into presence, questions become a bridge. When you bring questions into isolation, questions become a pit. I am here to hold your questions, not to silence them. Truth is not afraid of questions. Truth lights the way for questions. Each morning, reset your anchor with a brief word. Each midday, check your axis with a pause. Each evening, release your burdens with surrender. These small practices do not make the storm disappear. they help you stand. And the one who stands will watch the storm pass. My beloved child, you often call every pain destruction, every loss an ending, every delay a failure. But, my child, not every fire comes to destroy. Some fires come to refine. The fire of destruction turns things to ash. The fire of refining makes gold shine. You cannot always tell the difference by feeling, because both are hot. Both make it hard to breathe. Both force you to release what you have been clinging to. You discern by the fruit after the fire. Do you become smaller in fear or larger in truth, harder in bitterness or softer in humility, farther from me or nearer to me? I do not bring you through fire to make you lose yourself. I allow the fire so you may find yourself again in me. There are seasons when you think I am taking things away, but in truth I am setting you free. You call it loss because you tied your worth to it. You call it pain because you placed your sense of safety upon it. But, my child, what I loosen is not because I despise you. I loosen it because I love you enough not to let you live leaning on what cannot truly hold you. There are attachments that are polite, reasonable, widely accepted, and still attachments. You may cling to a good image, a respectable role, a familiar rhythm, a relationship that does not truly nourish you, a plan that sounds right but is not right for the season. Fire will touch these attachments, not to leave you exposed before the world, but to make you honest before me, so you no longer live behind the armor of control. I want you to see fire as light. Fire reveals form. In the fire, what you once hid becomes harder to hide. The motives you once painted over become harder to conceal. You notice yourself reacting more strongly, feeling more intensely, being more easily touched. You think you are getting worse, but in truth you are seeing more clearly. What is seen clearly is not for condemnation, it is for realignment. I do not build your life on denial, I build it on truth. And truth, though painful at first, becomes the foundation of freedom. Remember, this gold does not fear fire, impurities do. When I allow you to pass through fire, I am proving that there is gold in you, something real, something precious, something I place there that no one can take. But the gold is mixed with false beliefs you learned in seasons of rejection, mixed with gentle lies you accepted when you were weak, mixed with survival strategies you once needed to keep from breaking. I do not despise those strategies. I simply say you do not need them anymore. You are no longer in the old place. You are no longer the old self. You no longer need to shrink to survive. So I allow fire to come to separate, not to separate you from yourself, but to separate you from what clings to you without belonging to you. Do not resist the fire by running into distraction. Distraction dulls the feeling for a moment, but it does not change you. It is like covering your eyes so you do not see, while remaining in the same room. I do not call you to suffer needlessly. I call you to remain so you can be transformed. Remaining does not mean being strong all the time. Remaining means being honest all the time. You can cry and still remain. You can tremble and still remain. You cannot understand and still remain. True strength is not the absence of trembling. True strength is refusing to flee from the light. I know there are moments you want to ask, why must I go through this, my child? Some answers come only after you pass through, not before you step in. If I told you everything beforehand, you would try to control the process and miss the work. I do not withhold because I want you blind. I withhold a portion because I want you to trust. Trust is not reckless blindness. Trust is placing your hand in mine when you cannot yet see the whole road. and I will never lead you into fire without an exit. I lead you into fire only when I know you will emerge with a new form. There are things in you that change only when they are tested. You can say, I trust on calm days, but trust is refined on windy days. You can say, I forgive when old wounds are untouched, but forgiveness is tested when memory is stirred. You can say, I am humble when no one presses your limits, but humility is chosen when you are misunderstood, delayed, placed lower than you expected. I do not do this to make you smaller. I do it to free you from the self that needs to prove itself. That self has exhausted you for too long. My child, fire teaches you a precious skill, the ability to endure uncertainty without collapsing. You are used to needing to know ahead, calculate ahead, secure ahead. But a mature life does not always give certainty, it gives trust. Trust is not knowing what will happen. Trust is knowing who is with you when it happens. When you learn trust, anxiety no longer drags you. You may still plan, but plans are no longer idols. You may still work, but work is no longer where you find identity. You may still love, but love is no longer where you trade away yourself. This is the freedom fire opens. I also want you to understand fire does not only separate impurities. Fire heals fractures. There are parts of you cracked by former seasons, cracked by disappointment, by betrayal, by striving without being seen. Those fractures make you cautious, keep you distant from joy, suspicious when good comes near. In the fire, I mend. I do not mend by covering over. I mend by entering in. When I touch a fracture, you will feel a sting, but after the sting comes joining. You will begin to trust again, not trusting the world naively, but trusting me maturely. The greatest danger in the fire is not pain, it is bitterness. Bitterness rebuilds walls and turns you rigid so you will not hurt again. I do not want you rigid. I want you to be steady. Steady is different from hard. Hard does not absorb. Steady absorbs without collapsing. Hard reacts. Steady discerns. Hard shuts down. Steady opens selectively. I am transforming you from hard into steady. So cooperate with the fire in 3 ways: honesty, breath, and surrender. Honesty, name what you fear, what you grieve, what you resent. Breath, pause before reacting so the wind does not steer you. Surrender, place what you cannot change into my hands, so you are not exhausted by battles that are not yours. When you do this, fire will not destroy you. Fire will refine you. My beloved child, when you step out of the fire, I do not send you back unchanged. Fire does not end in ashes, it completes in a new form. What is born after fire is quiet, unprovable, unhurried to be seen. It stands in a strange steadiness, steady because it has been refined, steady because it has released what once pulled it down, steady because it has learned to rely rather than strain. You will recognize this change not by applause, but by breath. You breathe deeper, more evenly. You react more slowly, more clearly. You walk with less anxiety, more truth. These are the signs of life restored to order. After the fire, the old no longer rules you. Voices that once made you doubt your worth grow quieter. Habits that once helped you survive but not truly live lose their power. You do not need to fight to prove you have changed. Change speaks through fruit. Your fruit will be peace with boundaries, courage without arrogance, and love without self-destruction. You will love without losing yourself, give without depletion, remain without being consumed. This does not come from momentary effort. It comes from a foundation that has been fired. True authority does not come from speaking louder. It comes from standing firmer. After the fire, your words are fewer but weightier. When you say yes, people sense freedom. When you say no, people sense respect, even if they do not like it. You do not need to explain excessively, because your axis is clear. A clear axis makes words concise. Concise words make life lighter, and a lighter life allows you to go far. You will also discover that your sensitivity does not disappear after the fire. It is refined. You still feel, but you are no longer overwhelmed. You still love, but you do not erase yourself. You still tremble, but you do not panic. This is softness reinforced. Softness is no longer dangerous. It becomes a doorway to discernment. You feel in order to know, not to be driven. You listen in order to understand, not to absorb. You open in order to love, not to be invaded. This is the new shape of a healed heart. What is born after the fire is also simplicity. Not simplicity because life has fewer demands, but because life has order. Choices that once exhausted you will quietly fall away. Struggles that once pulled you into constant turmoil will lose their attraction. You will find yourself asking less often, "Should I?" and more often, "Does this give life?" When something does not nourish life, you set it down without anger. When something does nourish life, you keep it without display. Simplicity is the sign that order has returned. After the fire, I do not heal you only for yourself, I prepare you for others. Not so that you carry their burdens, but so that you become a place of refuge. Others will sense this refuge not because you speak clever words, but because you no longer react from wounds. You are present without judging. You listen without taking over space. You speak truth without causing harm. That refuge is the gift of the fire that burned away the need to be right in order to be at peace. So that you can be at peace even when you do not yet have every answer. Do not rush yourself into new peaks. Allow the new shape to settle. Gold must cool in order to harden. In the weeks after the fire, you may feel empty not because you have lost something, but because you have released it. This emptiness is not meant to be filled hastily. It is space for me to place what is new. Guard that space with small practices, regular quiet hours, true rhythms of rest, short and honest prayers. Do not underestimate the work of guarding. Many precious things are lost, not through attack, but through neglect. After the fire, temptation will change its form. It will no longer come with blunt pressure, but with subtle invitations. Return to the old pace to be efficient. Put on the old armor to feel safe. Take back the old burdens because they are familiar. My child, familiar is not always right. When you recognize these invitations, remember the feeling of your new freedom. Freedom is not loud, but it is real. If you protect this freedom, you will not need to return to what has already been burned. Do not cling to ashes. Trust the new form. I also remind you the fire is not a single event. Life will have other firings, lighter, shorter, more precise. Do not fear them. When the foundation is firm, fire is no longer a threat. It becomes a tool of refinement. You will pass through more quickly, more lightly, with less resistance. Each time, you will shine a little more, be a little freer, and see a little more clearly. This is how true growth often happens quietly, yet enduringly. Remember this and carry it with you. You are not the product of pain. You are the result of transformation. Pain is only the environment. Life is the author. When others look at your story, They will not see only what you endured, they will see who you have become. And what they see will give them hope, not a cheap hope, but a grounded one. A hope that does not say it will be easy, but says it will be steady. My beloved child, I want you to understand something very important. It is not only trials that can pull you off your axis. Visibility can do the same if you do not walk in humility. There are seasons you think the most dangerous times are when you lack, when you are hidden, when you must wait in silence. But, my child, some of the more dangerous seasons come when you are seen, trusted, given responsibility, and doors are opened, not because visibility is evil, but because it reveals what you are leaning on. If you lean on me, visibility becomes a channel. If you lean on image, visibility becomes a burden. I am not stopping you from stepping into the light. I only want you to carry the axis that has been laid. You have passed through the fire, and the fire has refined you. Now, as others begin to notice what I am doing in you, when your words carry more weight, when your presence brings peace, you may face a very subtle temptation to believe that it comes from you. This temptation is quiet. It arrives as a reasonable compliment, a pleasant sense of trust, a feeling that I have arrived. My child, remember this: what I give does not change its source. If you change the source, you will change the fruit. I am not jealous of your fruitfulness. I am guarding your soul from an exchange of identity. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is knowing you are being held. The humble person does not need to lower themselves to be loved, nor raise themselves to be respected. The humble person stands upright in truth, knowing who they are, knowing who they are not, and knowing who is at work. When you hold this truth, visibility will not inflate you, nor will it shrink you. You will step into the light without being blinded by it, because your eyes are accustomed to the source. I want you to learn to carry visibility the way you carry water in a vessel of the right size. If the vessel is too small, the water overflows and soaks everything. If it is too large, the water thins and loses its taste. The right size is not decided by others, it is kept by inner order. That order is preserved through the quiet practices you have learned: hours of silence, rhythms of rest, short prayers, honest, returning. Do not abandon the hidden practices when the visibility increases. It is the hidden that keeps the visible from leading you astray. In seasons of visibility, you will be invited to speak more, decide more, lead more. I am not afraid that you will make mistakes. I am concerned that you might act too quickly. Hurry bypasses discernment. Discernment keeps authority from turning into pressure. Before each word that carries influence, pause. Before each decision that affects others, ask about the fruit. Before each compliment, return the source. These pauses do not make you weak, they make you trustworthy. You will also learn that not all attention needs to be received. Some attention comes to encourage, some comes to test you. When you learn to refuse unhealthy attention through quietness, you keep your center. When you learn to receive healthy attention with gratitude, you keep your joy. I am not calling you to withdraw. I am calling you to choose. Choosing is a mark of maturity. Visibility will also test relationships. Some will draw closer because of what I am doing. Some will drift away because they can no longer control the narrative. Do not be alarmed. Do not try to keep them by shrinking yourself. Do not try to appease them by bending your axis. Those who belong will remain because of truth. Those who leave will leave because they do not fit the new season. I do not take away to make you lonely. I arrange so you can walk freely in what I entrust to you. I want you to hold to one very practical thing in this season: a schedule with a soul. As responsibility increases, your schedule must be adjusted to protect your axis. Do not fill every empty space. Do not let applause replace silence. Do not let outcomes replace presence. When you keep a schedule with a soul, you will do much without losing yourself. When you abandon that rhythm, you may do little and still be depleted. There is an important lesson about authority. You must remember, authority is given to lift others, not to lift the ego. When you use authority to raise others up, your authority increases. When you use authority to press others down, your authority decays. I do not give influence so you can shine alone. I give it so light can spread. You will know you are using authority rightly when others grow without diminishing. You will know you are using it wrongly when you grow while others shrink. I also remind you invisibility. You will be misunderstood. Some will assign motives you do not have. Some will read your story through the lens of their own wounds. Do not rush to defend everything. Truth does not need to be protected by arguments. It needs to be lived long enough. When you live long enough in truth, rumors grow tired. Let your life answer for you. My child, humility also means knowing how to receive help. Do not let your role isolate you. An isolated leader soon runs dry. A leader with community endures. Keep a few relationships where you get to be yourself. No performing, no leading, no needing to be right. Those places are resting ground for the soul. Resting ground keeps the working ground from becoming exhausted and barren. I do not promise that the season of visibility will be easy. I promise that if you keep your axis, that season will bear fruit. Fruit is not only outward results, fruit is the person you become within. If after visibility you are humbler, freer, and able to love more rightly, then you have walked well. If after visibility you are tighter, more afraid, and more closed off, then you need to pause and reset your axis. I am always ready to reset it with you. Carry this word as you move forward. The best light is reflected light. You do not need to generate brightness. You need to stand in the right place. When you are in the right place, light will come and pass through you without burning you. My beloved child, I want you to learn something subtle yet decisive. Keep your heart lower than your role. The role may be high. The responsibility may be wide. Your voice may carry far, but your heart must remain where I can touch it. When your heart stays low, grace flows through without obstruction. When your heart rises high, grace has to take the long way around. I do not say this to make you afraid of role. I say it to teach you how to carry a role without letting it carry you. The one who carries a role rightly stays light. The one who is carried by the role grows heavy. In this season, you will be asked for opinions, entrusted with decisions, relied upon to lead. Temptation will not come as something blatantly evil. It will come as something good put in the wrong place. Temptation says, "You must always have an answer." I say, "You are allowed to ask." Temptation says, "You cannot be wrong." I say, "You are allowed to learn." Temptation says, "You must protect your image." I say, "Protect the truth." When you choose truth over image, you protect your soul from the invisible but heavy pressure of always needing to be right. Pay attention to how you receive praise. Praise is a double-edged blade. It can encourage, and it can lull you to sleep. When you receive praise and keep it for the ego swells and covers your axis. When you receive praise and return the source, praise becomes fuel for gratitude. I do not forbid joy. I teach you to rejoice rightly. Whisper within, "This good has a source." When you remember the source, your joy will remain clear and lasting. I also want you to learn how to handle criticism as influence increases. Not every criticism is true, but every criticism can teach. Discern what is truth that needs adjusting, and what is noise that must be released. If you react defensively, you will miss what you need to learn. If you absorb everything, you will be drained. Bring criticism before me, and I will sift it for you, keeping the seed, blowing away the chaff. Humility does not swallow every word. Humility knows which words to heed and which to let the wind carry off. Increased influence will test your rhythm of life. More invitations, more expectations, more good things to do. But not every good thing belongs to you. Keep a clear discipline, choose less, and go deeper. Depth bears fruit. Excess produces fatigue. When you choose less, you do not miss out, you focus. Focus keeps your influence from being diluted. Diluted influence makes you busy. Focused influence makes you useful. You must also keep humility in how you use your voice. When you speak, remember someone more fragile is listening. Use words to lift, not to show off, to guide, not to press down. Sharpness does not need bitterness. Clarity does not need heaviness. When you speak from a peaceful rhythm, your words find a place to land. When you speak from tension, your words push people away. I am not calling you to speak less. I am calling you to speak in the right place. A sign you are keeping humility well is that you are still able to learn from others. When you stop learning, you begin to close. When you close, you begin to harden. When you harden, you become easier to break. Keep a few trusted people who can speak truth to you, people, not blinded by your halo, and not silenced by personal gain. Listening to them does not make you weak, it makes you safe. Safety helps you go far. I also remind you about subtle isolation. As influence grows, you may be placed high, and fewer people will dare to touch you. Choose to step down in safe relationships, places where you can be yourself. Laugh. Admit you are tired. Ask for help. Do not let your role swallow your humanity. The one who keeps their humanity keeps their heart. The one who loses their humanity soon runs dry, even while being applauded. Humility is also shown in how you handle mistakes. When you are wrong, do not rush to hide it. Correct it. Correct quickly, sincerely, in the light. Transparent repair builds trust stronger than counterfeit perfection. People do not need a leader who never errs. They need a leader who knows what to do when they do. When you choose to repair, you teach by your life. Remember, influence is borrowed. Identity is eternal. Do not trade identity to keep influence. Influence may rise and fall. Identity kept will carry you through every season. When you keep your identity, I can entrust you with more. When you trade it away, I will have to protect you by reducing what you carry. Reduction is not always loss. Sometimes it is rescue. Guard the hidden things as you would guard treasure. Quiet hours, rhythms of rest, gratitude, confession. These do not take the stage, but they keep the stage from making you fall. When you are tired, return to these before making major decisions. Light for the next step often comes in pauses no one sees. Carry a simple measure with you for self-check after each season of visibility. Are you humbler? Are you lighter? Do you love more rightly? If the answer is yes, you are walking well. If no, do not panic, pause, and realign your axis. I do not push you. I walk with you, my beloved child. As your influence touches more people, I want you to understand something deep. You cannot carry the whole world on your shoulders and keep your soul fresh. I do not call you to be a savior. I call you to be an instrument. An instrument does not claim glory. It directs glory back to the source. And an instrument does not operate on its own. It is used within order. When you forget order, you will try to carry what belongs to me, and that is when you begin to burn out. I do not want you burnt out. I want you to be useful and enduring. In this season, you will meet more needs, more messages, more stories, more expectations. Your heart will want to answer all of them, rescue all of them, fix all of them. But, my child, mercy without boundaries becomes pressure. Pressure becomes irritation, and irritation erodes love. I am teaching you a discipline of mercy, selective love. Selective love is not coldness, it is humanity. When you accept that you are human, you allow me to be God. When you try to be God, you will lose peace. Learn to discern between carrying and entrusting. I give you assignments to entrust, not burdens to carry. Entrusting means you do your part in the light and place the rest in my hands. Carrying means you hold what is not yours and bring it into your sleep, your body, your mind. When you carry, you become heavy, irritable, tired, dry. When you entrust, you become lighter even while working. Practice one simple sentence whenever you sense you are carrying, Lord. This is beyond me. I return it to you. That is not avoidance. It is order. Remember also, people may love what you bring, but not everyone will love you. Some come because they need light. Some come because they want to use that light for their own ends. Do not be confused by this mixture. Discern by fruit. If someone draws near to you and then draws nearer to me, that is health. If someone draws near to you and becomes more dependent on you, that is a sign you need boundaries. You do not have to disappoint them with harshness. You only need to keep order with clarity. Clarity is mature love. There is a danger in this season, your heart being pulled into many fragments, one piece here, one piece there, one piece inside the stories you hear, one piece inside the worries you carry. When your heart is fragmented, you will be present without truly being present. You will do much without depth. I want you to return to an undivided heart. An undivided heart does not mean you do not care. It means you care in order first turned toward me, and then flowing outward from me. If the flow does not begin in me, you will give only from limited reserves and soon run dry. Therefore, I teach you to keep an inviolable space, a place where you serve no one but me. It may be a portion of time each day, an evening each week, a steady rhythm of rest. In that space, you do not have to help. You do not have to lead. You do not have to answer. You are simply a child, you and me. This intimacy is not a luxury. It is a source. A source that is not protected will leak. A slow leak becomes emptiness. I do not want you empty. As your influence touches more people, you will also be tested by comparison. You will see others doing more, moving faster, receiving more praise, becoming more visible. Do not let that bend you. I did not copy you. I made you unique. Your path does not need to resemble anyone else's to be right. You do not need to force someone else's pace onto your season. When you compare, you step off your axis and into exhaustion. When you return, you will see that I have set a rhythm for you, a rhythm that makes you live. I also want you to understand that in a season of visibility, the attack often comes through distraction. It is not always direct opposition. Often, it is simply too many tasks, too many words, too much noise. Distraction steals your focus, dulls your sharpness, and eventually steals your joy. Choose a few central things and go deep. Refuse what fills your schedule while leaving your soul empty. I am not calling you to be busy. I am calling you to bear fruit. Fruit comes from abiding, not from running. Keep your heart soft by practicing gratitude. Gratitude is the antidote to pride and to discouragement. When you give thanks, you remember the source. When you remember the source, you neither swell nor collapse. Give thanks for the people I have placed beside you, for small outcomes, for quiet progress. Do not wait for something big before you give thanks. The one who gives thanks only when it is big will easily grow proud. The one who gives thanks in the small will endure. I also teach you how to respond to others' needs without trading away your own health, to respond within limits. You do not always have to respond immediately. Ordered slowness is better than chaotic speed. You can say, "I will pray about this," without promising to fix it. You can direct people toward me instead of pulling them toward you. When you direct them toward me, you do not lose influence, you purify influence. Purified influence will not drain you. My child, there will be times you feel lonely, even in the middle of a crowd. That is a sign you need to return to intimacy. Do not punish yourself for that feeling. It does not prove you are ungrateful. It reminds you that your soul was not made to live on applause. Your soul was made to live in presence. Return. Returning is not withdrawing from responsibility. Returning is restoring the source so you can continue with the right heart. I will keep you from burning out if you are willing to learn order. The invitation is this: choose endurance over quantity. Choose depth over breadth. Choose me before you choose the work I assign. When you do this, the season of visibility will not consume you. It will become a blessing flowing through you without making you lose yourself. My beloved child, as I lead you into this part, I want you to understand something often overlooked, yet decisive for the long road. What I build in you is tested not only by great storms or bright lights, but also by ordinary days, days without drama, without peaks, without clear signs. On those days, quiet neglect can pull you off your axis without you noticing. I do not say this to make you anxious. I say it to awaken you. Watchfulness is not living tense. Watchfulness is living awareness. You have learned to stand in fire and to walk humbly in visibility. Now I teach you to protect what has been built through practices that are simple yet enduring. The enemy of the soul does not always come through direct attack. Often it comes through erosion, eroding your attention, eroding your rest, eroding your gratitude, eroding your honesty with yourself. Erosion is not loud. It wears things down slowly until you become used to living slightly off and still call it fine. So I invite you to keep small fences around the great garden I am tending. The first fence is rhythm. Rhythm is not a packed schedule. Rhythm is ordered priorities. When your rhythm places presence before performance, truth before image, rest before collapse, you are guarding what is precious. You can do many right things and still lose your soul if you do them in the wrong rhythm. I do not grade you by quantity. I look at rhythm. A right rhythm will keep you for the long road. A wrong rhythm will make you fast but thin. Let each day have an anchor point, short but real. A brief prayer in the morning. A pause at midday. A surrender at night. These anchors keep you from drifting when the current of tasks pulls hard. Do not wait until you are overwhelmed to anchor. Anchor in calm weather so that when wind comes, the rope is already strong. The wise do not wait for a storm before tying down the boat. The second fence is attention. Attention is where you place your mental energy. You live in an age that shatters attention, endless notifications, constant comparison, non-stop headlines. If you give every voice equal authority, you will lose my voice in the crowd. I am not telling you to abandon the world. I am inviting you to be selective. Selectivity does not make you poor in information. It makes you rich in presence. Decide on hours that cannot be interrupted, spaces that will not be filled. In those hours, I realign your compass. The third fence is gratitude. Gratitude keeps you from two deep pits, pride and despair. When you forget gratitude, success makes you swell and failure makes you collapse. When you practice gratitude, you stand steady through both. Train yourself to give thanks for small things, steady breathing, a timely choice, a quiet evening. The one who gives thanks only for big things will tire easily. The one who gives thanks for small things will endure. Gratitude is oil for the wheel. Without oil, the wheel squeaks loudly and wears out quickly. I also want you to protect what I am building through honesty with yourself. Honesty is not exposing everything to everyone. Honesty is refusing to lie within your own heart. When you are tired, name it tired. When you are jealous, name it and bring it before me. When you are afraid, admit it. What is named loses its power to control. What is hidden will steer you from the shadows. I am not ashamed of your honesty. I rejoice in it. Honesty is the doorway through which grace enters the places you kept concealed. There is a subtle danger in ordinary days, small compromises. Small compromises seem harmless, skipping a pause, swallowing a word you should not swallow, prolonging a habit that does not give life. But repeated small compromises becomes a worn path. I do not call you to perfection. I call you to gentle vigilance. When you realize you have compromised, do not condemn yourself. Return. A quick return keeps a worn path from becoming a highway. I also teach you to protect what I build by guarding the door of your mouth. Words do not merely describe reality, they shape the inner world. On ordinary days, it is easy to release complaints, sarcasm, pessimism. These words erode joy and thicken the air. Choose words that build. Even before circumstances change, choose truth. Even when emotions lag behind. When you speak according to the truth, emotions will be led. When you speak according to emotion, truth will be pulled. My child, another fence is the body. The body is not the enemy of the soul, it is the home. When you neglect the body, sleeping too little, eating in haste, not moving, the soul will pay the price. I do not demand rigid discipline, I invite steady care. Steady care keeps you strong enough to obey small things. Many stumble not because they do not want what is right, but because they are too exhausted to choose it. Rest is a spiritual act. Do not walk alone for too long. In ordinary days, keep a few relationships where you are reminded of the truth when you forget, corrected when you drift, supported when you are weary. Community does not need to be large, it needs to be real. Real people will not let you wander far without speaking, and do not close your ears when they do. Listening does not make you weak, it keeps you safe. The enemy is often most watchful when you think everything is fine. That is when vigilance loosens. I do not want you to live suspiciously, I want you to live awake. Awake enough to notice small shifts within when joy thins, when prayer becomes rushed, when irritability grows. These signs are not to frighten you, they are to help you adjust. Early adjustment costs less than late repair. Remember, protecting what I build is not about gripping tightly, it is about steady care. You care through rhythm, attention, gratitude, honesty, words, the body, and community. These things sound simple, yet simple practices, faithfully kept, prevent a life from being worn down. I am not seeking the spectacular, I am seeking faithfulness. If you keep these small fences, you will see that what I build does not merely stand in storms, but also flourishes in sunshine. And when subtle trials come, long stretches of ordinary days, you will not be lost, because you have learned to live ordered and to remain with the source. My beloved child, as you go deeper into this part, I want you to recognize the most subtle temptations, those that do not arrive roughly, but are dressed as reasonable, even wise. Precisely because they are reasonable, they are dangerous, because they are familiar. They slip through the gate. I do not say this to make you afraid. I say it so you can see. When you see it, you can choose, and an illuminated choice keeps you free. Subtle temptation often begins with a very small shift. Priorities change without labels changing. You still do good things, but for different reasons. You still serve, but to feel secure rather than to love. You still pray, but to control outcomes rather than to remain. When motive shifts, but behavior remains. You easily assume you are fine. But my child, motive is the steering wheel. Behavior is the wheels. If the steering wheel is off, the road will bend even if the wheels keep turning. Another temptation wears the label efficiency. It whispers that you should move faster, tighter. Feel less so, you will be less tired. Efficiency itself is not evil, but when efficiency replaces presence, the soul dries out. You can complete many tasks without being in me. You can achieve results and still lose rhythm. I do not call you slow for the sake of slowness. I call you slow enough to be real. Truth is not hurried, it is precise. When you choose precision, efficiency will arrive in its proper place. Be alert to the temptation of moral self-reliance. It tells you that you are mature enough to manage on your own, experienced enough not to ask, disciplined enough not to remain. This temptation is dangerous because it uses the very good things I have formed in you to pull you away from me. True maturity does not make you independent of me. It makes you willingly dependent. When you stop asking, you begin to close. When you close, you lose softness. And when you lose softness, you is easier to break under sudden impact. Some temptation comes through rationalization. You find reasonable explanations for what drains you just this season. Everyone does this. I deserve this kind of rest. Rest is not wrong, but some kinds of rest leave you emptier. Recreation is not wrong, but some choices numb you. I do not forbid rest. I teach you to rest in ways that nourish. Right rest restores, wrong rest bends your direction. Ask about the fruit after resting. Are you nearer to me or farther, clearer or duller, freer or more dependent? Subtle temptation also comes through healthy comparison. You see others doing good and feel you must keep up. You are not jealous. You are learning. Yet their rhythm becomes pressure on your season. You forget that I do not mass produce. I call individuals. Learning is not copying. Learning is discerning what fits your axis. When you copy another's rhythm, you will grow weary, even if they are strong. When you honor your own rhythm, you will bear fruit in your own way. There is a temptation called right but not loving. You hold principles and truth, yet lose gentleness. You speak correctly, but from tension. You correct errors, but from a place above. I do not separate truth from love. I bind them. Truth without love makes people shrink. Love without truth makes people wander. When you find yourself right but joyless, pause. When you see others become smaller after your words, re-examine. I call you to live a truth that warms. Another very subtle temptation is spiritual delay. You say, tomorrow, when it's more convenient, when I'm less busy. These sound reasonable, but they move obedience out of the present where grace is given. Grace for today is not issued for tomorrow. When you delay, you cut the flow yourself. Small obedience today keeps the flow open. I do not demand great acts. I invite you to do what is presently illuminated. I also want you to recognize the temptation of emotional numbness. After many heavy seasons, you may choose to turn off feeling to hurt less. Numbing helps you endure, but it also dulls joy. I do not call you to live numb. I call you to live whole. Wholeness means feeling with discernment, open enough to love, bound enough not to be overwhelmed. When you notice numbness, return to small practices, deep breathing, gratitude, honest speech. Emotions will relearn a safe rhythm. Subtle temptation also comes through maintaining a spiritual image. You are afraid to speak honestly because you fear disappointing others. You choose silence because you fear losing credibility. But credibility is built by truth, not by concealment. I do not need you to be flawless before people. I need you to be real before me. When you are real before me, you will know how to be real at the right time before others. Truth spoken at the right time builds. Truth spoken at the wrong time wounds. Ask me for wisdom in timing. Remember this, you overcome subtle temptation not by clenched willpower, but by continual light. Light comes when you regularly ask yourself, what is my motive? What fruit is forming? Is my axis still clear? These questions are not meant to condemn you, they are meant to realign you. Frequent realignment is gentler than major repair. I also teach you to practice replacement disciplines. Do not only say no to temptation, say yes to what gives life. When you feel drawn to distraction, choose brief silence. When you feel pulled into comparison, choose gratitude. When you want to rely on yourself, choose to ask. When you want to delay, choose a small step. These yeses drain the temptation of its power because you have changed the source. You are not fighting alone. I am nearer than you think. And grace arrives before temptation does. If you stumble, do not be ashamed. Return. Returning quickly keeps a slip from becoming a path. I do not grow weary of your returning many times. I grieve when you do not return. The door is still open. The light is still sufficient. My beloved child, I do not call you into a guarded life marked by tension, suspicion, or fear. I call you into a life of joyful watchfulness, the joy of one who knows they are being kept. True guarding does not shrink you, it opens you in proper order. It does not train your eyes to see life defensively. It teaches you to see life clearly, knowing what to choose, where to place yourself, and what to release. A mature guardian does not live in fear of loss. They live in confidence that the source does not run dry. You have learned that what I build in you can be worn down in ordinary days. Therefore, I want you to build a guarded life the way one builds a house, a firm foundation, clear doors, windows opening in the right direction, and steady daily rhythms. Your foundation is a relationship remaining with me, not out of duty, but out of life. When the foundation is strong, small tremors do not panic you. Your doors are boundaries, knowing what may enter and what may not. Your windows are vision open to receive light. closed when harmful winds blow. Your daily rhythms are nourishing habits, simple, steady, enduring, my child. Enduring watchfulness begins when you make peace with consistency. You once thought breakthroughs were what mattered most, but I tell you, consistency is what can be trusted. Consistency teaches you faithfulness when there is no excitement. It teaches you to love without immediate reward. Consistency makes what is good become natural. When goodness becomes natural, temptation loses strength because it must confront a way of life, not a single, isolated decision. I want you to see discipline with new eyes. Discipline is not a whip. Discipline is a frame. A frame does not restrict, it holds shape. When you have a frame, quiet hours, rhythms of rest, gratitude practices, honesty with yourself, you are free to create without breaking. Freedom without a frame collapses. A frame without freedom hardens. I teach you to hold both together. When you do, your life will have resilience without fracture. Learn to take joy in guarding. Joy that comes from knowing you are investing in the future, not merely reacting to the present. Joy that comes from choosing rightly in small things, which lightens the weight of larger ones. Joy that comes from realizing you no longer have to fight old temptations fiercely. They weaken on their own when they lose ground. This joy is not loud, it is deep. It is like a gardener seeing trees stand firm across many seasons, no need to boast, yet deeply assured. I also want you to guard with flexibility. Flexibility is not looseness, it is the wisdom to adjust when seasons change. Some habits serve you well in one season but need refinement in another. Do not freeze your spiritual life. Regularly ask, does this still nourish me? Is this rhythm still fitting? Does this boundary still need to remain as it is? Humble flexibility will keep you from two extremes, rigidity and neglect. Part of enduring watchfulness is learning to forgive quickly others and yourself. Resentment is the greatest leak of the soul's energy. When you hold resentment, you guard by gripping. When you forgive, you guard by releasing rightly. Releasing does not erase memory. It removes memory's authority. I do not ask you to forget. I ask you not to let the past drive the present. When you forgive, you return the steering wheel to me. I also teach you to guard by choosing joy from the right source. Some joys awaken you, others numb you. Right joy does not need concealment. Wrong joy needs darkness. Ask yourself, does this joy open me or close me, clarify me or cloud me, free me or bind me? When you choose the right joy, you will not need to fight temptation. Temptation will lose because you are already satisfied. Do not underestimate the guarding power of your inner dialogue. The words you speak to yourself shape the climate within. Replace self-accusation with learning. Replace exaggerated fear with named truth. Replace comparison with gratitude. When the inner climate is healthy, external storms shake you less. I am not asking you to speak false positivity. I am asking you to speak life-giving truth. I also remind you of the rhythm of return. No one guards perfectly. There will be days you forget, days you grow careless, days you slip. What matters is not whether you slip, but how quickly you return. Quick return keeps a slip from becoming a fracture. Slow return allows erosion. Train yourself to return as a first reflex, not a last resort. I am always there. Enduring watchfulness is also sustained by realistic hope. Hope does not deny difficulty. Hope sees beyond it. When you feel weary, remember why you began. When you feel discouraged, remember what I have already done. When you feel doubtful, return to the evidence. Realistic hope does not require you to feel good all the time. It gives you reason to continue even when you do not. Carry this liberating truth with you. You do not guard in order to be loved. You guard because you are already loved. Love comes before discipline. Grace comes before effort. When this order is right, guarding is no longer a burden. It becomes your response to love. And what is born from love will endure longer than any resolve born from fear. My beloved child, I am not bringing you to a cold ending, but to a completion, the completion of a cycle of maturity, where you stop living as one who must prove themselves and begin living as one who has been named. You have passed through fire, through visibility, through ordinary days and subtle temptations. Now I invite you to live fully in your new identity, not as a beautiful concept to read, but as a rhythm to walk in. This new identity is not a garment you put on when you are strong. It is healed flesh, reset bones, an aligned axis. You no longer have to become someone to be loved. You are loved. Therefore, you become who I have called you to be. This new identity begins when you stop negotiating your worth. You no longer ask, "Am I enough?" every time you step through a new door. You no longer wait for others' approval for your heart to rest. You are no longer pulled by the gaze of the crowd, not because you have grown numb, but because you have found a refuge so deep that external voices are no longer the source. That refuge is me. When you know your worth comes from me, you can receive praise without swelling and criticism without collapsing. That is the sign your identity is rightly placed. I know there were seasons when you lived as though you had to maintain love, maintain it through effort, endurance, and pleasing others. But my child, true love is not maintained by strain, it is sustained by remaining. Remaining is not clinging. It is placing your heart in presence each day, allowing love to nourish you instead of trying to nourish love yourself. When love nourishes you, you will give without becoming poor, serve without burning out, help without losing yourself. You no longer have to sacrifice your identity to prove loyalty. I do not purchase your faithfulness with fear. I invite it with grace. My child, to live fully in your new identity also means daring to live truthfully without tearing yourself apart. You no longer need a mask of "I'm fine" to hide your weariness. You can say, "Today I am weak," without seeing yourself as a failure. You can say, "I need rest," without calling yourself selfish. You can say, "I don't know," without judging yourself as inadequate. The truth within you does not make you smaller, it makes you lighter. And when you are light, you will find yourself moving more swiftly, not because you are rushing, but because you are no longer dragging invisible burdens behind you. Your new identity is not only something you know about yourself, it is something you choose every single day by choosing whom you belong to. There will be days when you wake up and your emotions do not agree. There will be days when old memories knock at the door. There will be days when the enemy whispers that you will return to old cycles. My child, when those days come, you do not need long arguments. You only need to stand in the truth and choose. Choosing is not about feeling strong. Choosing is about placing your foot in the right direction. When your foot is placed rightly, strength will come with the rhythm of your steps. I do not wait for you to feel ready before I lead you. I lead you so that you may become ready. Living fully in your new identity will also change how you see challenges. You will stop seeing challenges as verdicts and begin to see them as lessons. You will stop seeing delays as abandonment and begin to see them as preparation. You will stop seeing closed doors as loss and begin to see them as protection. This is not self-comforting language, it is trust that has been forged. One who has not been forged panics when questions arise. One who has been forged brings questions to me, and I will answer you with step-by-step guidance, not with a complete map, because I want you to live in a relationship, not merely in information. Your new identity will also change how you love. You will love with gentle authority, gentle because you no longer need to win, authoritative because you know your boundaries. You will no longer rescue others by trading away your peace. You will no longer fear abandonment to the point of losing yourself. You will no longer cling to relationships that no longer fit the new season. You will be able to stay when it is right, and to leave when it is necessary, not out of bitterness, but out of order. I am not making you cold. I am making you clear. And clarity is a deep form of love. My child, there is one practice I want you to adopt in your new identity. Live as one who has been entrusted, not as one who is being chased. One who is being chased is always afraid of being late, of lacking, of losing. One who has been entrusted walks in peace, knowing they are doing their part within a greater plan. When you work like a sower, sow in the right place, in the right season, and then entrust the rest. When you build like a steward, keeping rhythm, strength, and truth. When you rest like one who trusts without apologizing for resting. Your rest is a declaration that I am still God even when you stop. I also remind you a new identity does not mean a life without battles. It means a life that knows which battles belong to you. You will stop fighting wars that were never assigned to you. You will stop trying to change people who do not want to change. You will stop straining to control the future. Instead, you will fight by standing in truth, keeping the rhythm of abiding, and doing what is right within your reach. This is the warfare of light, quiet, yet victorious. This is the beginning of a new way of living, living from the inside out, not allowing circumstances to define you, but allowing identity to direct you, not letting fear drive, but letting peace stand guard, not letting lack distort you, but letting gratitude widen you. When you live this way, you will become a sign to others, not a sign of perfection, but a sign of presence, and that presence will tell them there is a safe place to return to. My beloved child, in this part, I want to prepare you for something that will surely happen. Everything around you will change. Some changes you will anticipate, and some will arrive unexpectedly. Some changes will open doors, and others will close them. But my child, your new identity does not depend on context. It stands firm even when the context shifts. If you place your identity on circumstances, every change will force you to recreate yourself just to survive. I do not call you to survive, I call you to live fully. And living fully begins with carrying your axis, not your fear. I want you to understand this change is not a sign that you are walking wrongly. Often, it is a sign that you are entering a new season. But every new season feels unfamiliar. What is unfamiliar tempts you to return to what is familiar, even when what is familiar no longer fits. My child, do not turn back out of fear. Fear makes you choose quickly. Love helps you choose rightly. When change comes, pause for a beat, not to delay, but to realign. Realignment allows you to step into the new without losing what has already been built. There are 3 things I want you to keep as 3 keys when everything changes: presence, truth, and rhythm. Presence is where you remain with me, so you are not swept away. Truth is where you name honestly what is happening within you, so fear does not take the wheel. Rhythm is where you keep the small practices that have nourished you, your morning anchor, your midday pause, your evening surrender. When change disrupts your schedule, you need rhythm even more. Rhythm does not need to be long, it needs to be real. 1 real minute is better than 1 rushed hour. You once thought safety meant everything being stable, no surprises, no risks. But I tell you this, true safety is being in me, even when the outside shakes. If you wait for everything to be settled before you have peace, you will rarely have peace. My peace is not the reward of circumstances, it is the gatekeeper of the soul. Peace does not promise you will never meet waves. Peace promises you will not be swallowed by them. Sometimes change comes as an invitation. You see opportunity, a door, a step forward. Yet at the same time you feel yourself tremble, afraid you are not enough, afraid you cannot hold it, afraid of being seen, afraid of being wrong. My child, your new identity gives you a simple answer. You do not step because you are perfect. You step because I am leading you. I do not place you into new things so you can prove yourself. I place you there so you can grow. When you step with a posture of cooperation, you will strain less. You will do your part learning, preparing, arranging without self-exaltation or self-condemnation. You will work in the light, not under pressure. Other changes come as a loss. A door closes. A relationship ends. A plan collapses. You may feel pain and still keep your identity. My child, do not let loss rewrite the definition of who you are. Loss does not say you are worthless. It only says a season has ended. You can weep without falling apart. You can grieve without clinging. You can be sad without becoming bitter. What holds you in those moments is inner order you allow yourself to feel. But you do not allow feelings to take the wheel. You place your sorrow into my hands. So sorrow becomes cleansing water, not mud that pulls you down. When change comes, you will be tempted to trade your identity in order to adapt. You may think, if I soften a little, I will be accepted. If I stay quiet a little, I will avoid trouble. If I bend a little, I will keep the peace. But my child, adaptation must never become dissolution. You can be flexible and still keep your axis. You can learn a new language without abandoning your mother tongue. You can enter a new environment without discarding the small fences I have taught you. Your new identity allows you to adapt without losing yourself. I also want you to remember that change often brings fatigue. Fatigue makes you more reactive, more prone to misunderstandings, more likely to choose what is temporary. So in a season of change, you must care for your body more, not less. Sleep more fully, eat more steadily, rest more genuinely. Many people think that when they are busy, they should cut back on rest. I tell you that when you are busy, you need to rest even more. Rest does not make you slow. Rest keeps you from breaking. Breaking is the most expensive cost of a season of change. Change will also test your relationship with control. You want to know in advance, to be certain in advance, to hold things in advance. But I am teaching you a great freedom. You do not need to hold every detail in order to step rightly. You only need to hold my hand. I will not always show you the whole picture. I will give you enough light for the next step. The one who demands the whole picture will delay. The one who receives the next step will move forward. Moving forward in humility creates momentum, and momentum opens the way. And in a season of change, be careful with the noise of other people. Some advise you out of love, some advise you out of fear, and some advise you because they want you to remain the old version of yourself so they can feel safe. Do not let noise direct you. Filter everything through peace, through fruit, through what aligns with your axis. You can listen without being controlled. You can respect without obeying. Your new identity helps you stand upright without making war. One sign that you are keeping your identity in the midst of change is that you do not lose simplicity. You still keep what is core: abiding, telling the truth, resting, gratitude, boundaries. If change takes away those core things, you need to adjust. I am not asking you to add more. I am asking you to keep the center. The center keeps you from getting lost in the new season. You do not have to brace yourself alone against change. I have gone ahead. I have arranged. I have prepared what you cannot yet see. And even when you do not understand, you can still trust. Trust is not closing your eyes. Trust is stepping in a small light with a truthful heart. When you step like that, you will see that the new will not swallow you. It will open you. And you will pass through the season of change like one who is held, not like one who is being chased. My beloved child, this is the final paragraph, but not a full stop. It is a seal, so that from today you walk as one who has been rebuilt, not as one trying to become something. I did not lead you through the earlier parts so you could have more words. I led you so you could have a new rhythm of life. And that new rhythm is called by a name that is very simple and very deep: long-term peace. Long-term peace is not a fleeting, pleasant feeling. Long-term peace is a life with an axis where you know to whom you belong. You know what you have been entrusted with, and you know what does not belong to you. When you know these things, you can walk through life without life tearing you into pieces. Long-term peace begins with a daily decision you choose to abide. Not to abide in one moving moment, not to abide in a spiritual memory, but to abide with me in ordinary days, in small tasks, in small words, in small choices no one sees. Abiding is what keeps your new identity from becoming a slogan. When you abide, you do not have to manufacture motivation. Life will flow. When you abide, you do not have to protect yourself with a mask. Light will do its work. When you abide, you do not have to chase certainty. I will give you enough to step. I want you to walk with gentle authority. Gentle authority is strength that does not need to show off. It does not come from winning against someone. It comes from overcoming the chaos within. It does not come from silencing others. It comes from removing fear from the driver's seat inside you. A person with gentle authority is not the one who speaks the loudest. They are the one who speaks what is right at the right time in the right spirit. Their words carry weight because their heart has order. And that order does not come from harsh discipline. It comes from soft obedience, soft toward me, firm toward what destroys. You will recognize gentle authority through simple signs. When you are provoked, you do not rush to react. You pause. When you are pulled into arguments, you do not need to prove yourself. You choose peace. When you are misunderstood, you do not panic. You live in the truth long enough. When you are praised, you rejoice without swelling. When you are criticized, you grieve without collapsing. That is authority. It does not make you numb. It makes you free from being controlled by circumstances. My child, long-term peace is also kept by living within your proper limits. You are not infinite. Only I am infinite. You are not the source. You are a channel. A channel must be clean and uncracked for the flow to pass through. Therefore, you must sleep enough, rest enough, eat enough, and be silent enough. Do not treat care for your body as secondary. It is a foundation for faithfulness. Many lose peace not because they do not love me, but because they have lived beyond their strength for so long that they can no longer hear. I want you to be able to hear. I want you to be able to live. Long-term peace does not eliminate tears. Long-term peace puts tears in their rightful place. You will still have sad days, remembering days, heavy days, but in your new identity, you will not let sadness become despair. You will not let remembering become clinging, and you will not let heaviness become bitterness. You bring it all before me. You let me sift it. You let me lift it. You let me heal it. The one who brings things will not sink. The one who holds everything inside will grow heavy. Become one who brings. What I want to do through you from today is not only to keep you, but also to make you someone who carries life wherever you go. Not by long explanations, but by presence. There are places you enter that lack peace: your family, your work, your relationships, even your own room. I do not always send you to do something big. Many times I send you to remain so you can keep the atmosphere. The spiritual atmosphere is shaped by people who abide in me. When you enter with the rhythm of peace, you bring an invisible order with you. Others will sense that they can breathe. They can speak truthfully. They can pause. That is life. But to carry life, you must guard your heart from two extremes: rescuing and closing off. Rescuing makes you carry what belongs to others. Closing off makes you cold. I call you to the middle love with boundaries. Love with boundaries means you help without losing yourself. You listen without being swallowed. You give without drying up. You speak truth without shattering people. Love with boundaries is not distance. It is mature love. And mature love lasts longer than any emotion that flares and fades. I also want you to look at the future with simplicity. Do what is right within your reach. Do not be obsessed with the whole picture. Do not be chained by "I must know everything." I will not hand you the entire map. I will give you the next step, and then the next. The one who is faithful with the next step will go far. The one who demands the whole picture will get stuck. When you face a choice, ask three things. Will this keep my axis? Will this nourish life? Will this draw me nearer to you? If the answer is clear, step. If it is not clear, pause, not out of fear, but to listen. I always speak to the one who knows how to pause. Remember one final truth: as the foundation for all the days ahead, you do not need to become a perfect version of yourself for me to use you. I use you when you are real. I lead you when you return. I lift you when you are humble. I align you when you are willing to listen. There is no season you walk alone if you are willing to abide. And even when you stumble, you are not discarded, you are invited to return. Returning is always a door, so I place a blessing upon you as a seal of peace. I give you the ability to pause at the right time, to speak the right words, and to walk in the right rhythm. I give you a heart that will not be torn apart by noise, a mind that will not be drowned by anxiety, and a soul that will not be drained by disordered striving. I give you clear eyes to see what you need to see, and a soft heart to feel what you need to feel. I give you courage to say no when needed, and gentleness to say yes when it is right. And I give you pure joy, joy that does not depend on the script, but on presence. My child, from here on, live as one who has been set right again, not as one running from darkness, but as one walking in the light, not as one afraid of loss, but as one who knows the source does not run dry, not as one who must prove themselves, but as one who has been called by name. And as you walk, remember this: I do not speak only in moments. I walk with you over the long road. What I have begun, I will bring to completion. You need only abide and step forward. Thank you for listening to today's message. Please subscribe and turn on notifications so we can continue receiving these living words together. strengthening our faith and walking in the boundless love of God. Amen.